website that talks specifically about vanity metrics. Next is engagement, forgetting that engagement doesn't always equal interest. So usually engagement, I feel, signals interest in the content and not always interest in the product. And then the last will be connecting the story to the sales. So good content that's is getting impressions is nice. Good content that is getting engagement is nice. But if it doesn't connect to sales, then there's a gap there. So if everything doesn't tie around back to how you can make money from it, then it's just as good as content was made and it's not good enough, like I said earlier. Now, how do you exactly make content that people can understand and eventually make a buying decision through? I believe it begins with empathy. You can't convert who you don't understand. If you don't know who your audience is, if you don't know who the potential customer is, then you are just shooting blanks. The first step should be understand the audience. In this case, I wrote who is your reader because I'm a writer. All right. For anyone else, it could be who your viewer is if you make video contents. It could be who your followers are if you are a social media manager or strategist. And then what keeps them up at night? What's the thing that they like? What will make them push further to engage with your content? Next would be how they feel now, currently. So what are the things that they want? And we're not talking about material things now, but actual feelings. Because it's these feelings, when you understand the feelings, is when you can move forward. And next, after you've created this content, how do you think they'll feel after? So this focusing on the journey from the problem to the solution. So when you understand when you understand these things, then you can now start creating content that will resonate. Empathy is important here because empathy involves putting yourself in the shoes of whoever it is they are selling to, or it could be anybody, not necessarily the shoes of whoever it is they are selling to. If there's any UX writer on this team, they understand empathy a lot because it's important with product design. For nearly every product I use, websites, app, empathy is important, which is an example that I'll give here is voice assistants. If anybody uses an Apple device here, it doesn't even have to be an Apple device. Nearly every smartphone these days has a voice assistant. And the idea behind a voice assistant is to make things easier for people who either are too lazy to type, can't type physically because they probably have illnesses or something, or just prefer to use their voice. And that's what empathy is. Empathy is understanding the issues that people have and look for how to solve them. Now we look at buying. So despite the fact that this topic is talking about engagement to conversion, I decided to take it from the back a bit to look at how people buy, first of all, and what makes people convert. So for anybody to buy anything, or for nearly everything at least, especially for big buying decisions, apart if it's not a consumer good. Consumer goods are goods that you don't have to think about. You just go out and buy them, especially FMCGs, fast moving consumer goods. So we have snacks or biscuits or anything. Those are different as you don't think about them. But for major buying decisions, usually it begins with awareness. All right, you need to recognize the product or the brand that you want. And the brand has to put themselves out there to ensure that you see them. If you are aware enough and you understand them enough, then you begin to show interest. You are curious, you want to know what they're about, you want to see the value that they bring, the product offerings that they have under the same brand. And then it moves to desire, where you know that if you have enough money or if you have the chance, you'll get it. This is where a lot of people stop, as desire is also a function of ability. So I want a Rolls Royce right now, but I can't afford it. So that's where it stops. I'm already aware, right? I already have interest. The desire to get the Rolls Royce is there. Now, to move it to action, you, as a brand, you need to push them. You need to nudge potential customers for them to make the buying decision or to engage. Now, I'll be talking about the content strategy process in general, as the focus here is content. For you to make content that will push users through the funnel that I showed earlier, you need to understand the audience insight, which is why I mentioned about empathy. Segment the audience, and then target the part of the audience that you want. And you can target multiple audiences, but for different audiences, there'll be a different messaging. An example is banks. So, or financial institutions in general. Financial institutions like big banks have many different client bases. They have businesses that they work with. They have individuals that they work with. If they are going to make content for these individuals, it will be different from when they are making content for corporates, for big companies, right? That's what understanding your audience does. Next, you define your strategy. There has to be a map. Define the goals, the keywords, the formats that you want to use to make the content. So goals will be what you want to achieve from this at the end of this campaign, or it may not necessarily be a campaign, as it can be infinite. All right. What do you want to get from it? Keywords could be or keywords here describes the major things that will make your content stand out. And then the formats could be blogs, could be social media graphics, could be motion graphics, could be videos. So understanding these formats will help you define where exactly you're targeting. For some brands, a particular format may not work, and they have to think about the perfect format, because you have to think about yourself as a brand and the audience. So understanding yourself as a brand and understanding the audience will help you pick the format that you should use. Next is distribution plan. So usually for most content, so since this is content strategy here, it will be online. If general marketing can extend past online, it can be in person. But understanding distribution channels, which usually social media, if you are going to make content and then keep it on IG, Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or Twitter. Each one of these different social media platforms have different languages that you use. Some brands may not necessarily focus on putting content there. An example is I don't expect a musician to be using LinkedIn a lot, despite the fact that musicians are probably some of the biggest content strategists out there. Maybe not them, at least their teams are. They put out a lot of content, all right, because they need to always be on top of mind of their audience. So understanding distribution channel in this case will be them putting in a lot more effort in Twitter, on Instagram, or Snapchat ads especially, right, and less on LinkedIn. As a rapper, you're not going to make a lot of money if you're running LinkedIn ads. Next is the repurposing system. Repurposing is very, very important for content because content is hard, it's difficult to create, and understanding how to make the most of the content that you create is the way to maximize the efforts that you put in. All right. So if you've written a blog post now, you see that it's doing well, you can convert it to a video, or you can convert it to an infographic and then post that video or the infographic on other social media channels. Next will be the CTA part. CTA means call to action. I mentioned at the beginning of this that if your content doesn't drive people towards making a purchase, all right, if it's not driven to, it's not made towards sales, then it's good, but it's not good enough. The only part of content creation that you perhaps do not need people to make a purchase is when you're still at the awareness stage, right? Where people just want to know, or you just want people to know about the brand, right? And after that, you need to nudge people towards making a decision. In the awareness stage, which usually is at the beginning of when a brand is new, or when it knows that it has a potentially new market, is when they don't necessarily have to add the call to action. Even at that, having a call to action just helps to let them know the end goal and then defines the entire process. Next would be the pillars of clear content. And here I wrote storytelling sales. I like to describe myself as a storyteller. Nearly everything or good content depends on a great story. If the story is not good enough, then people cannot relate to it. Some of the biggest brands out there are those that have asked storytelling, and it shows in their ads. It shows in their social media. It shows in the way that they are perceived. And the best way to do that is first clarity. Be simple. Human first. All right. If you are too complicated or bogus, you'll seem distant. Now, unless if you specifically want to look that way and um, and not be human, then for most brands that's not going to work. The next is emotion. I added speak to fears here. I know it might sound a bit controversial, but there are a lot of brands that speak to fears. Recently, I saw a meme of how cosmetic brands essentially make people afraid of not using them. So you see a soap or a skincare brand now saying the things that will happen to you if you don't use it. Say, oh, if you don't use our soap, you're going to, especially in their ads, you see a lot of it. You're going to start breaking out, your skin is going to be ashy, and you're not going to feel well. This is speaking to the fears of the potential user that is here. And then if you're going to speak to their hopes and their desires, you say the advantages of using their soap. A lot of brands do this. It's emotional and it's a way to connect. And at the end of it is to offer a frictionless, irresistible step, which is call to action that I mentioned earlier. Let the people know what the next step to take is. If you tell a story and then there's no concluding part that leads back to you, it's just a great story. And a great story is just as good as itself. Especially for people in marketing, numbers matter. And if it doesn't come back to increase the sales revenue, sales numbers, then it just looks like you're, for lack of a better word, eating a company's money. You could have the best strategy ever and be getting the best numbers as regards engagement and impressions, but it's not translating to sales. A lot of CEOs will feel like they can cut you off and then say that you're just a variable cost that can be replaced, and then focus on the fixed cost that doesn't involve you. Now, I mentioned I sort of started from the end, which is conversion. Now I'm moving back to engagement. Now, for people to engage with your posts, especially on social media, there are four major things that I think work well. First is social proof. You need to leverage the influence of others' experiences. Show that your product works. Show how it has changed people's lives. A great example of this that will show is or that I will talk about is Chowdeck. Recently, Chowdeck started this campaign where, okay, if for people that don't know Chowdeck, I expect a lot of people to anyway. It's an app that helps you order food or connects people that need food to people that sell food, essentially. So recently they started a campaign where they started interviewing the founders. Do I call them founders now? The restaurant owners, rather, who have made a lot of money on the platform. I've seen at least two people, Amoke Oge and Credit Spaghetti. Right? Each one of them have made, I think, I'm not sure whether it's 1 million or 1 billion sales. I don't know the exact number. And then they had an interview and then they talk about their growth through them. That's social proof, showing how the effect that having of their products, as they show their products has had on that ecosystem. Let's use that generated content. This is pretty common with, especially with the age of influencers now. And I'm a bit skeptical about the influence of influencers to say it's also important for people who are not affiliated with the brand to talk about the brand. It's better if it's organic, if it's not paid, but owned media is difficult to get. And if you can nudge it, then you should nudge it, which is why you pay people to talk about the brand. If it sounds as sincere as possible, then you are doing a great job there. Next is emotional resonance, where you need to connect with an audience on an emotional level. This ties back to what I said about storytelling. If people can feel the emotional connection with your brand, then they are less likely to leave it alone. Right? They will enjoy the content that you're putting out, and you are essentially building a community on social media. Community is very important on social media. And then last is trust. If your community trusts you, trust the content that you're putting out, they are less likely to go back on engaging, go back on the words that you are putting out, and you are more likely to make more sales and essentially have more engagement. Right. Now I'll talk about vanity metrics. And this is very dicey because I mentioned earlier that these metrics are industry specific. What may be a vanity metric for one industry, for one brand, may not be for another. An example is a media brand. Say, I mentioned when Sukomot introduced me, he mentioned that I work at Zukoko, right? At Zukoko, it was very, very important for us to have numbers on our social media. So the reason that you know Zukoko as much as you do, because the number of followers we have, the number of engagements that we have, and how often that it's shared. So that is an important metric for a media brand. For a non-media brand, someone that sells a product, for example, you are less likely to focus on impressions and followers and more on conversions. So this is a table that shows a few important metrics and what looks good and what drives sales directly. For likes, yes, likes look good, but does it drive sales directly? Most times, no. Shares, great, but sales directly, no. DMs looks good, yes, it shows that something is happening. And then does it drive sales? Yes, because people are asking questions to know exactly what it is that you're doing and how they can patronize you. It's not the end of the funnel anyway, but it shows that people are, it's at least at the interest stage. Email signups, yes. It means people want more information about you, and that's why they're signing up. For comments, may not necessarily be a vanity metric because it shows interest. All right. So it's again very, very content and industry specific. The most important thing is CTAs clicked. If people are clicking on your call to action, then it shows very, very important interest and they are ready to take the next stage. And that's perhaps the most important thing if you're in content marketing. Now, if you are getting all of this, like shares, DMs, email signups, comments, and CTAs, it means you are doing something good. But if it's not translating to conversions, then maybe the messaging can be tweaked a little bit just to nudge them forward. Or maybe your content isn't, like I mentioned, pushing them towards the next stage of the funnel. And this will be the end of my talk. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, you can ask, and I'll be happy to answer.
All right. Uh, thank you. That was really insightful. So I'd like to say something. So this is like a series, right? This is like a series we've been like doing from I think 2 months ago now on content, right? So we had favor. Favor took something around content to last month. So I think you should everyone should visit our YouTube channel. The recording is on our YouTube channel. So when you watch Favor, then you can also rewatch Nyoni's part. So you have like a full body, right? Favor spoke on content distribution, right? I think Nyoni also mentioned something around content distribution and the likes. And then he mentioned something around messaging and all. So last year we did something around positioning and messaging in marketing. So everything is up on our YouTube channel. You just need to go there, check it out. And trust me, you in fact, if you go to our YouTube channel as a new marketing personnel, right, you definitely come out as a full-blown professional because we had like experts, right? So yeah, uh, up straight. Let's move on to the Q&A question. Do you have any questions for Yoni concerning content? What questions do you have? That was quite an like a full-blown section. So questions. Don't have questions. And it seems everybody understood what you said. That means you've done a very fantastic job.
So that's fine.
I mean, we have like 25 more minutes on this call. This call ends by 7 p.m. So yeah, you have enough time to like ask questions. Might not be even be like questions from what is said. Probably you have questions. You're a content marketer, and then you have something going on at work. You would like to share. Probably you're at a particular block, right? And then you need help with how to go about it. Maybe around content distribution. You have something that is going on well, and you don't know. Probably you should move it to write something about it, create a content video about it, or something. You can ask questions around that, right? We have an expert in the room that will do well to answer those questions. So, what questions do we have? Okay. Atunji says he has a question. Let me check it out. So, could you please give a practical example using a brand to illustrate more? Okay. Could you please give a practical example using a brand to illustrate more? Yoni, please. Do you hear that question?
Yes, I did. When you say illustrate more, what exactly are you talking about? So I can understand the direction that I'm to take.
All right. Olatunji, you can actually like unmute yourself and speak, please.
Also, Olatunji, the reason I'm asking is because I mentioned if during the session I mentioned a few brands and strategies that they used, especially with content marketing. All right. I mentioned Child Deck, I mentioned Discover. All right. So I want to understand if you are looking for a different direction as to how content works, or there's a specific part of the things that I said, because I mentioned quite a few things as regards the funnel and then choosing the right content and how it affects marketing. Essentially the whole marketing funnel. So I need you to be a bit specific so I can know how to tackle the question exactly. That's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Did I Olatunji get that? Please, you can unmute yourself and speak, and probably you are typing already. No problem. While you are doing the typing, I think I will. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can type. While you are typing, I think I will throw in a question to Yoni personally. So, Yoni, I think this will be around distribution, right? So yeah, you're a content writer, right? So, I mean, we have people that don't really like do content writing. Like me, I don't do content writing, right? But I write, right? I have like a blog page. I write twice a week and stuff. Bi-weekly. Okay. So yeah, I've been thinking lately. At what point do I scale? Because I feel like what I write about is basically real things, reality, right? At what point um do I scale? Right? Because I feel like what I write about is something everybody needs to like hear. It's something relatable to everybody, something I know that yes, probably if I put it in a podcast, if I put it in this distribute it to a podcast, make a video or something. I'm not a video person, by the way, but if I put in some, let's say a podcast, right, to reach more people and stuff. But then at the same time, I'm also feeling like, oh, isn't it too early, right? I think being for like a year now, I've been writing for more than a year now. I'm feeling like, oh, let me gain more subscribers and all, and then I can now scale to podcast level. So yeah, at what point should a writer, whether a content writer or just normal writer, at what point should they scale?
Slight question though. When you say scale, what exactly do you mean?
So
Because
say
like
in the
right,
sense of expanding from writing, right? Distribute, yeah, going too much distribution. For example, I've been writing, right? I have enough content. I have like, let's say solid six, right? Like I can pick from my writing, then convert into a podcast. Probably invite somebody, speak about it and all.
I don't think there's an exact point when you say if I've gotten here, then I should. I think it's a process of learning, and if you feel like you have the right experience, you've been writing for quite a while, so that's good enough that you've been able to gather that. When you say convert to a podcast, I think a podcast situation is slightly different from writing, as people who are great on podcasts and don't necessarily have to be great writers. Obviously, skills overlap as it's all about self-expression. And if you're able to express yourself in text, yeah, it's possible you also able to express yourself on a microphone anyway. So I think it's interest and finding like-minded people. If the easiest way perhaps is to find as somebody who already does something like that, right?
Mm.
And the person and both of you can grow together. Because nobody at the beginning of what they were doing was perfect. Um, I'm not a perfect writer. I never was. I'm still learning. And there is this, despite the fact that I've been doing this for a while, um, if there's this thing with writers where if you write something and then somebody edits it, they'll always find something to correct. So because you are boxed in your own head and you don't exactly understand how other people think, you tend to forget that not everybody is in your mind, and it's general anyway.
Mm.
So back to a point. If you have the interest, then I think that you can take it up. You'll make some mistakes on the way, definitely, as everybody does. But if the interest is good enough, you correct the mistakes and you keep on moving forward. If it makes you feel better, the standard for podcasts generally is very low, as many people have microphones and say nonsense. So, so I'm sure you'll be fine if you want to start a podcast.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Olatunji responded. Kelechi, please, we'll get back to you. I don't want us to leave questions hanging. So Olatunji said, so regarding the question, is there a guideline in practicing all these tips you have given us? I mean, we can pick a brand like Showdeck, analyze what they did or what they are doing that works. So in relation to what you discussed tonight.
I'm not sure I don't follow Childdeck social media a lot, right? But I can use them.
Okay.
I meant
I mean, it's good if you want to use Zikoko too. I think you are more used to Zikoko, so any brand you've worked with, something.
okay. So let me start with Childdeck. All right. So I mentioned that Childdeck recently started a campaign where they spotlight the restaurants that are on their roster. And this is content marketing itself, video format, because it's content. Content marketing is giving people information without exactly selling something directly. So that's why big companies have blog posts where they talk about many different things. Currently, I work at Grey Finance, and with Grey, there are a lot of blog posts where we talk about different things as relates traveling, as relates finance, as relates to moving across many different countries and then needing a card and how to survive in those countries. Essentially helping people who may be moving about. And that's information that they need, right? And that's content. Give me a minute, please.
Yeah, sure.
So, I mentioned I was back to child deck. So, in trying to ensure that they give their users or their listeners or their followers value, all right, it's about creating relatable content. I'm not sure if I mentioned it during the course of my presentation, but if content, the best kind of content is the one that is relatable, right? An example that I'll give is PiggyVest, away from Chowdeck now. PiggyVest is one of my favorite brands because their content marketing is very, very rigorous. The one thing that they do is using animations, comic book animations, where they either use trending things or trending sounds or jokes. Because my background is in funny writing, I mentioned to Google, using jokes is one of the best ways to get people to relate to your content. Humor sells, and people laugh, and before they know it, they're already saying, "Oh, we like these guys. Let me patronize them." Right. So for the question about practicing guidelines, there's a thing. How Zikoko makes their money is by telling stories and then connecting those stories to selling a brand. So, for example, if I wanted to advertise a fintech on Zikoko now, right, and talk about how it helps me send money to someone, a Zikoko writer will probably write a story about how they were really broke one time like that and they almost died in a very, very funny way, but using very relatable Nigerian lingua and using memes and stuff. And then eventually move into how if having an app like that would have helped them, right? So that's what content is, and using content marketing in this context is. So nearly every brand does it. Not every brand gets it rightly. It's a machine where you have to keep on learning, and understanding your audience is the best way to do it. My work at Dikoko would not be exactly the same at Red Media, which is a PR firm, right? Because especially for in a PR firm where there are brands that have to be absolutely serious. The other time I was writing for Access Bank, and they have a very, very, very strict method of writing. They're very serious, right? And I mentioned earlier about sometimes you have to humanize your content. Access Bank was never going to humanize their content as that's not their style, right? And looking at the brand, looking at the people that the brand is trying to connect with, and then looking at the method that will help them connect with those people best, is the best way for your content to flow. Thank you. I've answered the question. I should have added that.
Oh, great. I hope Olatunji got that. I hope Olatunji got that. Olatunji, are you satisfied? Do you get that? Please, Kelechi, your hand is up. Kelechi, you can speak. Please, you can unmute and speak. We have about 10 more minutes on this call, so I want to make sure we are prompt. Not extend beyond 7 p.m. Kelechi, please, if you are there, can just unmute and ask your question. All right, great, Tunji. Great. I'm not sure it's still there. So, is there another question, please, before we end this call? Is there another question before we end this call? Olumide, Toluwa Lashe, any question? All right, great. So with if there's no other question, I'd like us to do something before we leave. Aside from you learning on this call, we also connect, right? If you're on LinkedIn, you can leave your LinkedIn um, profile link and let people follow you, let others follow you. I mean, you could have something, probably a role somewhere, something, and then you saw someone that is a perfect fit on this call, then you feed them in, right? So yeah. So share your LinkedIn, you can share your LinkedIn, IG,
Hello,
anyone.
please,
All
can
right.
you hear me? I'm
Yeah,
struggling to
Kelechi,
unmute.
I hear you now.
Yes,
Please go on, go on. Sorry.
yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
for
evening.
yes, even though I came in late. But what I want to ask is actually unrelated. As
Okay.
somebody who is looking to start out in content marketing, I am finding it struggling to identify the content pillars of the industry I'm looking to go into. So I don't know if the speaker can shed any lights as somebody who is coming in as a total beginner.
Hello, Kelechi.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm not sure if I got your question. The content pillars of the industries you're into.
The content pillar of the industry I'm looking to go into, I'm struggling to identify them.
What industry is that? And can you explain what you mean by content pillars in this context? Because I've always known content pillars to be something different.
Okay. Content pillars, to my own understanding, are like content themes where your content are supposed to fall under. It helps you
Okay.
to organize your content so that it keeps you, how do I put it now? It keeps you focused on your business or brand goals so you're not all over the place.
Okay, great. We're on the same page then. So what industry is that so that we can help understand
Okay,
what
I am
pillars?
looking to go into recommending digital products.
Is this a personal thing?
Yes, a personal thing. Yeah.
Okay, so it's two-faced, all right? So it can either be written or okay, I would say three: written, social media, or videos. Social media and videos are essentially together these days.
Okay.
For written, it could be someone mentioned the other time that he writes blogs, all right? Personally, you can write your own blog post and talking about different things within the industry that people can search for and then find. Depending on the kind of community that you have, you can share this blog post with people
Okay.
and they now read it, right? And then helps you grow. Uh the search volume for that particular topic or blog post can also help with helping your contents grow, right? As SEO is really important these days. Optimizing your blog post for SEO can help push the numbers a lot better. Next, I would say is social media. So I'm having an account that talks about these things. On Twitter, it's about sharing your insights in a fun and exciting way. On LinkedIn, professional, right? Talk about the things that you've learned, things that you know. Now, because you are slightly new to it, the best way to position yourself, I believe, is to focus on your growth, not focus on your expertise. So if you learn something, post about what you learned and what you're looking to learn in the future, and
Okay.
not talk about yourself as an expert who has essentially learned everything. Um, for videos, which is where I think the sweet spot is. TikTok is really big these days. Instagram reels are really big. Finding a way to share your ideas in a fun and engaging way will help you grow. I know that video editing can be slightly difficult, but if you focus more on giving exciting and relatable content, then perhaps you can learn video editing on the way. But I think these are the major ways you can grow in this. Perhaps the only thing I missed out is to be in a community of people that can help with this. If you know people who are in the same industry, who can help you connect, who can help you grow, people who can give you pointers. Say they saw a YouTube somewhere and it's a YouTube video rather somewhere, and they know that it's something that will help you and you'll be interested in, then great. So I think those are the major things. Are
Alright.
you looking to be in to be employed, or is just a passion of yours? I'm asking now.
Okay. Well, the main goal is to practice with that my personal thing I talked about. I'm looking to dive into digital marketing as a whole, and I cannot do that by hopping on everything. So with that, I can properly learn content marketing, social media marketing, like
Okay,
one skill, one step at a time.
okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. Online courses also help a lot.
So,
There are a few of them. It's easy to get drowned in YouTube, right? But I usually recommend HubSpot's social media. I can't remember the name of the exact course now. HubSpot's content marketing. I did that a while back, and it's intense, right? But it's easy to learn and it's fun.
all right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
All right. I think that will be the end of our Q&A section. It's almost 7 now. So you mentioned something about community. So you can join the Bootcamp community. We have something coming up very soon after the North Star conference, where we will have we want to have personalized sections, right? Where we have boot camps, planning on boot camps and all. So it's something that will definitely benefit you. So the link to the community is already in the group chat. I think I'll drop it again so that I can pop up in case you missed it. Check out our YouTube channel. There's a lot of sections like this on our YouTube channels. And by the way, this section was recorded, so you said you came in late. You can definitely catch up with it by next week. So if you're in the community, you will definitely get the link to this section on our YouTube channel. Okay, so yeah, that will be all. Definitely want to say thank you very much to everyone that joined us on this section. We are having this section again next month. Next month, speaker, we are definitely working on the speaker already. And if possible, I'm looking for a way to make sure we have the founder of Growth Camp, Damilola Robert, be the one that will be speaking next month. He's a very great expert when it comes to marketing. Hopefully, we can have something like AMA section with him next month, where he speaks extensively on his journey in marketing and all. So you don't want to miss that. One more reason why you should join the Telegram community. I can see that some of us are already joining. So yeah, that will be all. Thank you very much, everyone, for being on this call. Thank you very much, Olayoyin, for doing this with us. Hopefully, we have you again sometimes later this year when we are speaking on content again. So thank you very much, and bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day. How do they say it? Q Sarah or Sarah. Yeah, bye.
All right, bye.